Good morning, anglers. This is Will, editor with Bass Angler Magazine, and today we're going to talk frog fishing. Not just any old frog fishing from a kayak. If you've never fished from a kayak before, things can be a little bit different. Boat positioning is key. Covering water can sometimes be a challenge. Even your tackle setup's a little bit different. Frog fishing from a kayak for me starts with a rod. I use a long enough rod that I can make a really long cast and still pick up a lot of line when I do set the hook. In this case, I use a 7-foot 3-inch heavy action rod. It's got a really stiff backbone so I can move fish away from cover easily when I do set the hook. It's also short enough that when I'm in a seated position, I can still walk the frog effectively, even from a seated position or standing. Doesn't matter, the tip is not slapping in the water. Seated or standing, I can still work the frog effectively, get a good solid hook set, and move the fish out of that vegetation. I use a high-speed gear ratio reel, 7:3-to-1 gear ratio, that allows me to pick up a lot of line in conjunction with the stouter rod, move fish to the boat quickly. I use braided line, in this case 60-pound braided line, cuts through vegetation really well, that's key. It also floats. Obviously when frogs are on top of the water, you want your line to float as well, but it also has no stretch. So when you do set the hook, you can get a really solid hook set. That's pretty standard across the board, braided line for frog fishing. So I encourage you to experiment with the length of rod that's gonna work well for you if you're fishing from a kayak. When it comes to frogs, I usually keep it pretty simple. Black when I'm fishing a frog on top of vegetation. I think it casts a really solid shadow under the mat and allows the fish to track the frog. If I know that there are bullfrogs present, if I'm hearing them, I'll go with a natural color. Green back, some sort of green back with a pearl belly. I think the pearl really stands out when it gets into open water and allows that bass to again track it and eat it. White generally in lower light conditions, early morning or later in the evening. And sometimes I'll even throw a soft-bodied paddle tail frog that has legs that kick, rubber legs that will kick a lot like a buzzbait. They're silent, but it does create a lot of commotion. It works well either over vegetation or in open water as well. So paddle tail, soft body frog as well. So I hope next time you're out frog fishing from your kayak, some of these tips help you out. Thanks a lot.